Hey everyone, Wallapini Woman here. Today we're going to talk about painkillers and how to recognize the plant that can give you the most relief. That's not opium related. So, it's called the opium of lettuce though, so that's something. Here, join me. This little lovely is something I saw growing this spring and I just went ahead and let it go. And I've been watering it, but this is Lactusa virosa, which is the opium. It's about to flower, which is when it's at its most potent. And something you can always use to identify. Do you see those little, let me see if I can get this to the side. See those little spine pricklies there on the leaf? That is one sign that you've got it. This, that it's wrapped, see how it's wrapped around this stem, that's another way. And then when you do this, check out, it bleeds, and that's where the medicine is. There's a couple ways to extract the medicine from this plant. You see this milky substance, that's the sap. You could go ahead and just milk it if you wanted to. I prefer to chop it up and put it in some alcohol, make a tincture with it. It's a little bit easier to dose that way than it is with just the straight milk. And also it's hard to milk one of these plants. I mean, you literally would have to bend it over and cut it on a regular basis just to milk it. So we're gonna cut it up and use it in a tincture. But this is a definite telltale, the spine of thorns on the back and the fact that it is wrapped around the stem of the plant. Those are your two telltale signs. The milk, this is just a secondary sign, and it's very bitter tasting, honestly. So this is some tincture that I have had going since May 29th. It's wild lettuce for pain. Wild lettuce can also be used as a sedative. If you're having a hard time sleeping, you could take, just a little bit and expect to be able to go to sleep. It also handles pain. You can handle chronic pain with it. It's called the opium of lettuce. And you take too much, it can poison you. So make sure you read up. You can go to botanicals.org or botanicalinstitute.org. There's a myriad of places that you can look to find out doses so that you don't poison yourself. But 1 to 2 milliliters is what I would use for my chronic pain if I had some 2 to 3 times a day, depending on need. And this is some that, like I said, I've had going for a while. So we're gonna remove the plant product from the tincture. Now this is the alcohol that I used. You could use 80 proof or higher. I use this because I'm going to extract some of the alcohol back out. And then I'm also going to mix some of this because this is a particularly bitter tincture because the sap in the plant is extremely bitter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some lemon juice, mix that with some honey, mix that with some of the tincture, and then use that as a pain aid and a sleep aid tincture. Also it's supposed to help with coughs a little bit. So it's got many medicinal uses, but being able to recognize the plant and knowing how to extract the pain med or any of the medicine with all of the properties that it has out of the plant is what's crucial. So this is how we're going to separate the plant matter from the alcohol that we use to extract the medicine. First off, we're going to have a cheesecloth. Every good tincture is always going to use a cheesecloth. You just want to make sure that you have the matter separated from the actual solution that you're trying to get the tincture. All right, so we're just gonna pour it out, and as you can see, plant matter includes the roots. I pulled the whole plant up. This was one that I found in May. I knew I wasn't going to keep the area watered, so I just went ahead and harvested it. Right now with the flowering stalk, that is when it's really at its most potent. So anyway, you've got all the plant matter out. You want to make sure that your plant matter is covered when you make the tincture. I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. But we want to just squeeze the plant matter out, get all the tincture out of it that we can. That's a lot of tincture, right? Well, I'm going to use this tincture still to make the plant that I showed you in the earlier portion of this video. So, I'm going to make a stronger tincture because the spring plant probably wasn't that potent. Wasn't even close to flowering. That's that. That's how you extract your plant matter from your tincture. Now you've got straight tincture. I'm going to use this to cover more plant, and we'll be back in a sec with the plant. Okay, so we're back with the actual plant. I just pulled it right out of the ground, and we're going to go ahead and chop it up and chop it up and then clean it, and then put as much of this plant in here that we can, and then cover that with the alcohol tincture. The whole plant has medicine, the roots, everything. I will go ahead and let some of those over there on that patio go to seed, and I'll collect those seeds. Okay, so we want to wash the whole plant. So we're going to cut it up into pieces. And start cutting it right into the container that you're going to make your tincture in. I like these big containers for this type of thing, just because you're going to have a lot of plant matter, and you want to be able to put as much as you can in there for tincture, right? So this is how we do it. And you know, if you really want to get an idea of how bitter it's going to be, now's a great time to go ahead and just dab your finger into the sap of this particular plant and go for it. I think you're going to find that it's way bitter, really bitter. So not a lot of fun to eat, but again, you can go ahead and flavor it with other things like lemon juice and honey, which also are good for you. Not bad for you at all. Okay. So just keep cutting it up. Keep cutting it up, putting it in. You don't want to make it too small to where your plant matter is hard to separate, but you don't want to leave it too big either. And these clippers will go through anything, but this is a hard stem to cut. Just so you know, the closer you get to the root, the harder it is. So you're going to want to just go ahead, cut it all up, and when you're doing something like this, you're going to want to make sure your clippers were cleaned off before you start in. You know, because if you've been using these on other plant matter, you want to make sure that they've been sanitized before you use them for something like this. Just an FYI that I may not have mentioned before. So, all right, we have all of our new plant matter in here. Got my marble to hold it down just in case. And what we will do is a couple large leaves for the end to where it's going to hold all of that matter down. Our little marble. Then we're going to cover it with our alcohol tincture again. Okay. See how all of the plant matter is covered with alcohol? That's important. Okay, so the product is completely covered with alcohol, and we're going to close it up, put the date on it, and put it in a dark, cool place. So for the next 45 days, it's going to steep there and make our tincture for us. And then we're going to remove the plant matter after 45 days, and then have straight tincture that we can mix with lemon juice and honey, or whatever you're going to mix it with, if you're going to mix it with anything, or if you're just going to take a straight dose without it and just muscle through it. Now remember, do not poison yourself with this stuff. Don't take too much, because it can cause hallucinations, it can make you headache, it can kill you. So don't die. That's not good, okay? So cool, dark place, 45 days, remove the plant matter. You got yourself a nice pain med, insomniac tincture, and also for coughs. Thanks for joining me. As usual, if there's any other product that I use, you can find links in my bio to get to those products so that you can use them too. Thanks for joining me here at Wallapini Woman.